My wife's phone had a passcode more complex than the Pentagon's. Not suspicious at all. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I'm Daryl Warner, friends call me Daz, and at 42, I've learned that life has a twisted sense of humor. I install high-end security systems for a living, which means I know when someone's trying to hide something. The irony wasn't lost on me that I could crack any safe in the city, but couldn't figure out what my own wife was doing behind my back. Until today. "Honey, I'm working late again," Erica called from the bathroom, applying her third coat of mascara. Nothing says spreadsheet emergency like stilettos and Chanel No. 5. "Sure thing, babe," I replied, watching her through the reflection in our bedroom mirror. 20 years of marriage teaches you to read the signs. The way she held her phone face down. The sudden interest in yoga pants that cost more than my monthly truck payment. The mysterious consultant meetings that always seemed to require fresh lingerie. Erica worked in corporate marketing for Henderson & Associates, a mid-sized firm downtown. She'd climbed the ladder fast, and I was proud of her. But lately, she'd been climbing something else entirely. "Don't wait up," she said, kissing my cheek with lips that tasted like lies and lip gloss. After her BMW disappeared down our tree-lined street in suburban Millbrook, I sat in my recliner with a beer and considered my options. Our daughter Taylor, 16 and sharp as her mother's credit card bills, plopped down beside me. "Dad, Mom's acting weird again," she said, not looking up from her phone. "Weird how?" "She's been texting someone named Max. A lot, and she giggles when she reads his messages." My stomach dropped, but I kept my voice steady. "Maybe it's work stuff." Taylor gave me a look that said she didn't buy it for a second. "Dad, I'm 16, not 6. Mom doesn't giggle about quarterly reports." Our son Owen, 13 and usually glued to his gaming setup, wandered into the living room. "Is Mom dating that guy with the fancy car?" The beer suddenly tasted like cardboard. "What guy?" "The one who picked her up last week when her car was in the shop. He drives a green Jaguar. Really old one, but like, expensive old." I knew that car. I'd seen it parked at Henderson & Associates when I'd surprised Erica with lunch last month. She'd been flustered, claiming she was too busy to eat, practically shoving me out the door. Max Farrell, her consultant, the PR guru who'd been helping with their latest campaign. 41, divorced, and apparently driving more than just business results. That night, I did what any self-respecting security expert would do. I investigated. Not illegally, mind you, just checking publicly available information. Social media is a beautiful thing when people are too stupid to use privacy settings. Max's Instagram was a monument to his own ego. Pictures of his restored 1967 Jaguar E-Type, expensive dinners and vacation shots from places I couldn't afford to visit. But it was the recent posts that caught my attention. Subtle shots of a woman's hand wearing Erica's distinctive silver bracelet. A photo of 2 wine glasses with the caption, "Perfect evening with someone special." I screenshot everything. The next morning, Erica was unusually cheerful, humming while she made coffee. She'd been out until nearly midnight, claiming the client dinner had run long. "How was your evening?" I asked, watching her face carefully. "Oh, you know, boring work stuff. Max had some great ideas for the Morrison account." "Max seems pretty involved in your projects lately." She paused, coffee mug halfway to her lips. "He's very dedicated." "I'll bet he is." The breaking point came 3 days later. I was installing a security system for Mrs. Henderson, yes, Erica's boss's mother, when I found a receipt that had fallen out of Erica's jacket pocket. Victoria's Secret. $87 for items I'd never seen her wear. There was a handwritten note attached. "To E. You make me wild. Can't wait for tonight. M." I stared at the receipt for a long moment, sitting in my truck outside Mrs. Henderson's house. 20 years of marriage, 2 kids, a mortgage, and a life we'd built together. All of it apparently worth less than whatever thrill she was getting from Max Farrell and his vintage Jaguar. My phone buzzed. A text from Erica. "Working late again. Don't wait up. Love you." I typed back, "Love you too. Drive safe." But as I drove home, a plan was already forming. Erica wanted to play games? Fine. But she'd forgotten one crucial detail about her husband. I was really, really good at security. And security at its core is about protecting what matters and exposing what doesn't. She was about to learn the difference. That evening, I sat the kids down for a conversation I'd never wanted to have. "Your mom and I are going through some problems," I said carefully. "I want you both to know that whatever happens, it's not your fault, and we both love you very much." Taylor nodded like she'd been expecting this. Owen looked confused and hurt. "Is Mom really cheating?" Taylor asked bluntly. I sighed. "Yeah, kiddo, I think she is." "With the Jaguar guy?" "With the Jaguar guy." Owen's face crumpled. "Are you getting divorced?" "I don't know yet. But I promise you both, whatever your mom has done, I'm going to handle this the right way. No screaming, no drama, no making you choose sides." Famous last words. My phone buzzed with another text from Erica. "I think it's time for us to part ways." I stared at the message for a full minute. Then I typed back, "I think you're right. Your things will be waiting outside in an hour." The response came immediately. "I was just kidding," I replied. I wasn't playing around. Then I got to work. Boxing up 20 years of someone's life is harder than you'd think. Not emotionally, I was past that. Logistically. Erica had a lot of stuff. I started with the bedroom. Clothes, shoes, jewelry, the fancy skincare products that cost more than my monthly beer budget. I was methodical, careful not to damage anything. This wasn't about destruction, it was about clarity. Taylor helped, which surprised me. "Dad, are you sure about this?" she asked, folding her mother's designer blouses into neat stacks. "Your mom made her choice, sweetheart. Now I'm making mine." Owen stayed in his room, but I could hear him crying. That sound nearly broke my resolve. Nearly. By the time Erica's BMW pulled into the driveway at 11:47 p.m., 15 boxes sat neatly stacked on our front porch. I'd even wrapped the fragile items in bubble wrap. I'm not a monster. The car door slammed. High heels clicked rapidly up the walkway. The front door rattled as she tried her key. I'd changed the locks. "Daryl, open this door right now," she pounded on the wood. "This is my house, too." I opened the door, but left the chain engaged. Through the gap, I could see her face, flushed, angry, and just a little drunk. "Your stuff's on the porch," I said calmly. "I suggest you call Max to help you move it." "You can't do this. You can't just throw me out." "Actually, I can. I checked with my lawyer this afternoon. Adultery gives me certain rights in this state." Her face went white. "How did you—" "No. Erica, I install security systems for a living. Did you really think I wouldn't figure it out?" Behind her, I noticed a car idling at the curb. The green Jaguar. Max had come to play White Knight. "We need to talk," she said, her voice shifting to the manipulative tone she used with difficult clients. "We just did. Have a nice life." I closed the door and turned the deadbolt. The next morning, I did something that would make Erica's day significantly worse. I posted a photo on Instagram, just the empty boxes stacked neatly in our garage with the caption, "Spring cleaning. Amazing how much lighter the house feels." Within an hour, my phone was buzzing with messages from neighbors, friends, and family members. The Millbrook neighborhood WhatsApp group was on fire. "Is everything okay?" texted Janet from next door. "Heard there was some drama at your place last night," wrote my buddy Pete, an ex-cop who lived 3 streets over. But the best response came from Erica's sister, Lisa. "What the hell did you do to my sister?" I replied. "I helped her move out. She seemed eager to start fresh." By noon, the The story had spread through Erica's social circle like wildfire. Her friends were divided into camps, Team Erica and Team Nobody Saw This Coming. Her yoga buddy Bree was posting passive-aggressive quotes about supporting women through difficult transitions. Jules, the neighborhood gossip queen, was practically live tweeting the drama. Erica called me 17 times. I let every call go to voicemail. Finally, she showed up at my office. "We need to talk," she said, standing in the doorway of Henderson Security Solutions, the small company I'd started 5 years ago. "No, we don't." "Daryl, please, can we at least discuss this like adults?" I leaned back in my chair and studied her. She looked tired, stressed. "Good. Okay, let's talk. How long have you been sleeping with Max?" She flinched. "It's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think. The question is how long." "3 months," she whispered. 3 months of lying to me, 3 months of lying to our kids, 3 months of making me feel like I was going crazy for noticing that my wife had checked out of our marriage. "It just happened, Daryl. We didn't plan it." "Bullshit. You don't accidentally buy lingerie for another man. You don't accidentally send love notes. You made a choice, Erica. Every single day for 3 months, you chose him over us." Tears started flowing down her cheeks. Once upon a time, that would have broken my heart. Now it just annoyed me. "I made a mistake," she said. "Can't we work through this?" "You didn't make a mistake. You made a decision, and now I'm making one too." That afternoon, I received a call from Max himself. "We should meet," he said, his voice smooth and confident. Man to man. "Why would I want to meet you?" "Because this situation affects all of us. Maybe we can find a civilized solution." The audacity was breathtaking. "A civilized solution? You mean like the civilized way you've been screwing my wife?" "Look, I understand you're upset." "Upset? Max, I'm not upset. Upset is when someone cuts you off in traffic. This is something else entirely." "Then let's talk. Coffee tomorrow. That place on Main Street, say 10 a.m.? I considered it. Meeting Max face-to-face might be exactly what I needed. "Fine. But we're not negotiating anything. I just want to look you in the eye." "Fair enough." That evening, I sat down with the kids again. "Mom wants to come home," I told them. "She says it was all a mistake." "What do you think, Dad?" Taylor asked. "I think some mistakes are too big to fix. But I want you both to know, this is between your mom and me. You don't have to choose sides." "I already chose," Taylor said quietly. "Team Dad." Owen nodded in agreement. My heart swelled with pride and broke a little at the same time. These kids deserved better than this mess. The next morning, I arrived at Grind Coffee 5 minutes early. Max was already there, sitting at a corner table, looking like he'd stepped out of a men's fashion magazine. Expensive suit, perfectly styled hair, and that smug confidence that comes from thinking you're the smartest guy in the room. I ordered black coffee and sat down across from him. "Daryl," he said, extending his hand. "Thanks for coming." I ignored the handshake. "Let's get this over with." He withdrew his hand smoothly, unfazed. "I want you to know that Erica and I never intended for this to happen. But it did happen, for 3 months. Yes, it did, and I take full responsibility for my part in it." "How noble of you." He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Look, I understand you're hurt, but Erica is an amazing woman who felt neglected in her marriage. Sometimes these things just develop naturally." The coffee suddenly tasted bitter. Neglected? I worked 60-hour weeks to pay for her BMW. I took care of the kids when she traveled. I supported her career even when it meant sacrificing my own opportunities. "I'm not criticizing you as a husband. Yes, you are. You're sitting there telling me that my wife's affair is somehow my fault because I didn't pay enough attention to her." Max's composure slipped slightly. "That's not what I meant." "It's exactly what you meant. You want to justify screwing another man's wife by pretending she was some neglected housewife instead of a grown woman who made a choice." I stood up, pulling out my phone. Since we're being so honest, let me show you something. I opened my photo gallery and turned the screen toward him. Screenshots of his Instagram posts, including the ones featuring Erica's bracelet and their romantic dinners. You posted evidence of your affair on social media, Max. Either you're incredibly stupid or you wanted to get caught. His face went pale. Where did you get those? Your Instagram account. Public posts. Amazing what people share when they think they're being clever. I leaned down so only he could hear me. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to stay away from my wife. You're going to stay away from my family. And if I see that green Jaguar anywhere near my house, we're going to have a very different kind of conversation. Are you threatening me? I'm explaining the situation. There's a difference. I left him sitting there and walked out of the coffee shop. Through the window, I could see him frantically typing on his phone, probably calling Erica. Good. Let them panic. That afternoon, I made another Instagram post. This time, it was a photo of the coffee shop with the caption, "Great conversation this morning. Some people really need to learn about boundaries." Within an hour, the neighborhood gossip network had connected the dots. Everyone knew about the affair now. Erica's carefully constructed image as the perfect suburban wife and mother was crumbling in real time. My phone rang. It was Pete. "Daz, you magnificent bastard," he said. "I heard you just destroyed Max Farrell at Grind Coffee." News travels fast. Jules was there. She live-tweeted the whole thing. I groaned. Of course she did. Listen, man, I know you're hurting, but be careful how far you push this. Guys like Max have connections. Let him make connections. I'm not doing anything illegal. I know, just watch your back, okay? That evening, Erica showed up at the house again. This time she wasn't alone. Max was with her, standing by his precious Jaguar like some kind of backup. I opened the door but didn't invite them in. "We need to talk," Erica said. "All of us." About what? About moving forward, about the kids, about being mature adults. I looked past her at Max, who was trying to project confidence, but mostly looked uncomfortable. "You brought your boyfriend to my house to discuss our children?" "He's not my boyfriend, It's complicated." "No, it's really not. You're sleeping with him. That makes him your boyfriend." Max stepped forward. "Daryl, we're all adults here. We can handle this situation with dignity." "Dignity?" I laughed, and it wasn't a pleasant sound. "You want to talk about dignity? You're standing in my driveway with my wife, talking about dignity? I understand you're emotional. I'm not emotional, Max. I'm clear-headed. Probably the clearest I've been in months." I pulled out my phone again, this time opening the camera app. "What are you doing?" Erica asked nervously. "Documenting this moment. My wife and her lover coming to my house together to discuss our marriage. I'm sure the divorce lawyer will find it interesting." "Put the phone away," Max said sharply. "Or what? You'll call the police? This is my property and you're both trespassing." Erica started crying again. "Please, Daryl, can't we work this out? For the kids?" "You should have thought about the kids 3 months ago." I stepped back inside and closed the door. Through the window, I watched them argue on my driveway for several minutes before finally leaving. Later that night, I discovered that someone had keyed Max's Jaguar and slashed 2 tires. There was a note tucked under the windshield wiper. "Emotional support. This is what it looks like." I had no idea who could have done such a thing, but I slept better that night than I had in months. The next morning brought an interesting development. Erica called me at 7 a.m., her voice shaking with rage. "Did you vandalize Max's car?" "Good morning to you too, Erica. And no, I was home with the kids all evening. Ask them." "Someone destroyed his Jaguar, keyed it, slashed the tires, left a threatening note." "That's terrible. Maybe he should park in better neighborhoods." "This isn't funny, Daryl." "You're right. Vandalism is a serious crime. He should call the police and file a report. I'm sure they'll investigate thoroughly." The silence on the other end told me she understood the implications. A police report would create an official record of Max's presence at my house, along with the circumstances that led to it. "Look," she said finally, "we need to figure out custody arrangements. The kids need stability. The kids have stability. They're living with their father in their childhood home, going to the same school, keeping the same routines. They need their mother too. Then you should have thought about that before you decided to blow up their family." I hung up and got the kids ready for school. Taylor was unusually quiet during breakfast. "Dad, are you okay?" she asked as I packed her lunch. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Why? You seem different, harder." I paused, considering my words carefully. Sometimes life forces you to be harder than you want to be. But I promise you, everything I'm doing is to protect our family. Even if it hurts Mom? Your mom hurt herself, Taylor. I'm just making sure everyone knows the truth. That afternoon, I received an unexpected call from Rita Gonzalez, the HR director at Henderson & Associates. "Mr. Warner, this is Rita from your wife's company. Could we meet for coffee? I have some concerns about a situation involving Mrs. Warner." "Interesting. What kind of concerns? I'd rather discuss this in person if you don't mind." We met at a different coffee shop. I was avoiding grind coffee for obvious reasons. Rita was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s, with sharp eyes and a direct manner. "I'll cut to the chase," she said after ordering her latte. "We're aware of the situation between your wife and Max Farrell." "What situation would that be?" "Mr. Warner, please. We have security cameras in our office building. We know they've been meeting after hours." I leaned back in my chair. "I see. The company has a strict policy about workplace relationships, especially when they involve consultants and married employees. It creates liability issues." "What are you asking me?" "I'm not asking anything. I'm informing you that we're conducting an internal investigation. If you have any documentation that might be relevant." I smiled. "As a matter of fact, I do." I showed her the screenshots from Max's Instagram account, along with the receipt for the lingerie and the handwritten note. Rita's expression grew grimmer with each piece of evidence. "This is very helpful," she said. "Would you be willing to provide copies for our investigation?" "Absolutely." 2 days later, the hammer fell. Henderson & Associates terminated their consulting contract with Max Farrell, citing unprofessional conduct and violation of company policies. Erica received a formal reprimand and was placed on administrative leave pending a full investigation. Max called me that evening, his smooth confidence replaced by barely controlled fury. "You destroyed my business relationship with Henderson & Associates." I provided factual information to their HR department. What they did with it was their choice. "You cost me a $50,000 contract. You cost yourself a $50,000 contract when you decided to sleep with a married employee. This isn't over, Daryl. Actually, it is. You're done with Henderson & Associates. You're done with my wife, and you're done with me. We'll see about that." The line went dead. I immediately called Pete. "I think Max might be planning something stupid," I told him. "What kind of stupid?" "The kind that involves making threats over the phone." "Want me to keep an ear out? I still have friends on the force." "That would be helpful." The next morning, I decided to take a more proactive approach. I drove to Max's office, a trendy co-working space downtown, and asked to speak with him. "I don't have anything to say to you," he said when he saw me in the lobby. "That's fine. I have something to say to you." He reluctantly led me to a small conference room. Through the glass walls, I could see other people pretending not to watch us. "You threatened me last night," I said without preamble. "I didn't threaten anyone." "This isn't over sounds like a threat to me." Max glanced around nervously, suddenly aware that our conversation was visible to his coworkers. "Look, we're both professionals here," he said, lowering his voice. "Maybe we got off on the wrong foot." "There is no we, Max. There's you, a man who destroyed a family for a few months of excitement. And there's me, a father cleaning up the mess you made." Erica made her own choices. Yes, she did, and now she's facing the consequences, just like you are. I stood up to leave, then turned back. One more thing. If you contact my wife, my children, or me again, I'll file a restraining order. And given your recent behavior, I don't think you'll have trouble getting one approved. I left him sitting there, looking significantly less confident than when I'd arrived. That afternoon, I received a call from my lawyer, Ms. Green, a sharp woman in her 60s who specialized in family law. Daryl, we need to discuss your divorce strategy. Your wife's attorney has been in touch. What do they want? Joint custody, alimony, and half of everything. Standard opening position. What can we realistically expect? Given the adultery and the fact that you've been the primary caregiver while she was otherwise occupied, I think we can do much better than that. How much better? Primary custody, minimal alimony, and she can keep her car and her 401k. You keep the house and your business. That works for me. There's one more thing. They're claiming that your recent behavior constitutes harassment. I laughed. What behavior? The social media posts, the meeting with her HR department, the confrontation at his office. I posted pictures of boxes and coffee shops. I provided factual information to a company investigating misconduct. And I had one conversation with Max in a public place. That's what I told them, but they're trying to paint you as unstable. Let them try. I've got documentation of everything I've done, and it's all legal. That evening, Erica showed up at the house again. This time she was alone and looked exhausted. "Can I come in?" she asked. "I want to see the kids." I stepped aside and let her enter. Taylor and Owen were doing homework at the kitchen table. They both looked up when she walked in. "Hi, babies," Erica said, her voice breaking slightly. "Hi, Mom," Owen said quietly. Taylor just nodded. "Can I talk to you guys for a minute?" They glanced at me, and I nodded. "I'll be in the living room if you need me." I couldn't help but overhear parts of the conversation. Erica was trying to explain herself, making excuses, promising that everything would go back to normal soon. The kids were polite, but distant. After 20 minutes, she came to find me. "They hate me," she said, tears streaming down her face. "They don't hate you. They're hurt and confused." "This is all wrong, Daryl. We should be working together to fix this." "There's nothing to fix. You made your choice." "I chose wrong. I know that now. Can't we try again?" I studied her face, looking for any sign of genuine remorse. All I saw was regret at getting caught. "No," I said simply. "Why not?" "Because you're not sorry you did it. You're sorry it didn't work out the way you planned." She started to protest, but I held up my hand. "If Max had left his wife and offered to marry you, would you be here right now asking for forgiveness?" The silence was answer enough. After she left, Taylor came to find me. "Dad, Mom asked me to talk to you, to convince you to take her back." "What did you tell her?" "I told her that you're happier now than you've been in months, and that maybe she should think about why that is." I hugged my daughter, amazed by her wisdom and strength. "I'm proud of you, kiddo." "I'm proud of you too, Dad. You're handling this better than I would." If only she knew what I was planning next. The escalation came from an unexpected source. Alan Reeves, Max's business partner and apparent wingman, decided to play enforcer. He showed up at my office on a Thursday afternoon, all 6'2" of him squeezed into an expensive suit that couldn't hide his gym rat physique. "We need to talk," he announced, not bothering to knock. My assistant, Jenny, looked alarmed. I waved her off. "About what?" I asked, not getting up from my desk. "About you backing off Max. This harassment has gone far enough." I leaned back in my chair and studied him. Alan was the kind of guy who'd been told he was intimidating so often that he actually believed it. "I haven't harassed anyone." "Bullshit. You cost him the Henderson contract. You're spreading lies about him on social media." I provided factual information to HR and posted pictures of coffee shops. If that constitutes harassment, You might want to find a better lawyer. Alan stepped closer to my desk, trying to loom over me. You think you're clever, don't you? Hiding behind technicalities? I think I'm a man whose wife was sleeping with your business partner, and I'm handling the situation appropriately. Appropriately? You destroyed his car. I was home with my children when that happened. Ask them. Someone did it. Someone who wanted to send Max a message. I shrugged. Maybe he should examine his life choices and consider why someone might be upset with him. Alan's face was getting red. You think you can just ruin people's lives because your wife doesn't want to be married to a loser anymore? That got my attention. I stood up slowly. Excuse me? You heard me. Erica finally found a real man, and you can't handle it. A real man who sleeps with married women and hides behind his business partner when there are consequences? Max doesn't hide behind anyone. Then why are you here instead of him? Alan opened his mouth, then closed it, apparently realizing he'd just proved my point. Stay away from Max, he said finally. And stay away from Erica. Or what? Or you'll find out what happens when you mess with the wrong people. I smiled. Is that a threat, Alan? It's a promise. After he left, I called Pete. I just received a visit from Max's muscle, I told him. What kind of visit? The threatening kind. You want me to have a word with him? Not yet, but I might need backup soon. That evening, I did something I'd been planning for weeks. I activated the enhanced security system I'd installed around my house, cameras, motion sensors, and a few special features that weren't exactly standard equipment. I also sent a message to the neighborhood WhatsApp group. Had some security concerns lately, so I've upgraded the house system. Just wanted everyone to know in case you see extra lights or activity. The response was immediate and supportive. Half the neighborhood was following the drama of my divorce, and public opinion had firmly shifted in my favor. The trap was set. Now I just had to wait. I didn't wait long. 2 nights later, around 11 p.m., my security system detected movement in the backyard. The cameras showed 2 figures trying to approach the house from the rear, Alan and Max, dressed in dark clothing and moving like they thought they were in some kind of action movie. I watched them from my bedroom window as they crept across my lawn. They were clearly planning some kind of intimidation tactic, probably thinking they could scare me into backing down. They were about to learn why you don't mess with a security expert on his own property. I activated the system. First, the motion-activated floodlights blazed to life, turning night into day and illuminating Alan and Max like actors on a stage. They froze, temporarily blinded. Then, the sprinkler system kicked in. Not the gentle lawn sprinklers, but the high-pressure security sprinklers I'd installed to deter intruders. Water cannons designed to knock a grown man off his feet. Alan went down immediately, slipping on the wet grass and landing hard on his back. Max tried to run but made it only a few steps before the sprinklers caught him too, sending him sprawling. The final touch was the sound system, speakers hidden around the yard that I'd connected to my phone. I activated the microphone and spoke in my most reasonable voice. Gentlemen, you're trespassing on private property. I've notified the police, and this entire incident is being recorded. I suggest you leave immediately. Alan struggled to his feet, soaked and muddy, looking around wildly for the source of my voice. You crazy bastard, he shouted. The crazy bastard who's standing in his own backyard while 2 men in dark clothing sneak around his house at night? I think the police will have some interesting questions about your intentions. Max was trying to help Alan toward the fence, both of them slipping and sliding on the wet grass. This isn't over, Alan yelled. Actually, it is. And Alan? Next time you want to threaten someone, you might want to make sure they don't have a state-of-the-art security system. I waited until they'd climbed over the back fence, then turned off the sprinklers and floodlights. The whole incident had lasted less than 5 minutes, but I'd recorded every second of it. The next morning, I uploaded a carefully edited version to the neighborhood Facebook group. Just the part showing two figures sneaking around my backyard, getting soaked by the sprinklers, and fleeing. I captioned it, "Security system working perfectly. Thanks to everyone who recommended the motion-activated features." The response was overwhelming. Neighbors were praising my security setup, laughing at the would-be intruders, and offering to help if I needed anything. Several people shared the video, and by noon it had been viewed over 1,000 times. More importantly, someone had identified the intruders. "Isn't that the guy with the green Jaguar?" commented Mrs. Peterson from down the street. "Looks like Erica's boyfriend and his friend," added someone else. By the end of the day, the entire neighborhood knew that Max and Alan had been caught trying to intimidate me at my own home. The video had been shared beyond our local Facebook group, reaching Erica's co-workers, her yoga class, and her extended family. Max called me that afternoon. "You had no right to post that video." "I had every right to post security footage from my own property. We weren't doing anything illegal. Two men in dark clothing sneaking around someone's house at 11 p.m.? I'm pretty sure the police would disagree. We were just trying to talk to you. By creeping through my backyard? There's a front door, Max. It even has a doorbell. Delete the video. No. I'll sue you." "For what? Posting security footage of people trespassing on my property? Good luck with that." He hung up, but the damage was done. Max's reputation was in ruins, his business was suffering, and now he looked like a criminal on top of everything else. But the best part was still to come. That evening, Erica showed up at my door, more furious than I'd ever seen her. "You humiliated Max in front of the entire neighborhood." Max humiliated himself by sneaking around my house like a burglar. He was trying to resolve this situation. By trespassing on my property with his muscle-bound friend? That's not resolution, Erica. That's intimidation. You're destroying his life. I'm protecting my family. There's a difference. She started crying again, but this time it felt different. Desperate, rather than manipulative. "Please, Daryl, can't you just let this go? Haven't you punished us enough?" "Punished you? I haven't done anything to you except tell the truth." "You've turned everyone against me. The kids barely speak to me. My coworkers treat me like I have a disease. I can't even go to yoga without people staring." "Those are consequences, not punishments. You made choices, and now you're living with the results." "I made a mistake." "You made dozens of mistakes every day for 3 months, and you only started calling them mistakes when you got caught." I stepped closer, and she backed away slightly. "Here's what's going to happen," I said quietly. "You're going to sign the divorce papers. You're going to accept the custody arrangement. And you're going to stay away from my house unless it's your scheduled time with the kids. And if I don't? Then this gets much worse for you." "How could it possibly get worse?" I smiled, and apparently something in my expression scared her. "You really don't want to find out." After she left, I sat on my porch with a beer, watching the sunset, and feeling more at peace than I had in months. The war wasn't over yet, but I was winning every battle. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight I was content to enjoy the quiet satisfaction of a plan executed perfectly. My phone buzzed with a text from Taylor. "Dad, you're kind of scary when you're angry, but I'm glad you're on our side." I texted back, "Always, kiddo, always." The final phase began with an unexpected phone call from Pamela Farrell, Max's soon-to-be ex-wife. "Mr. Warner, this is Pamela Farrell. I believe our spouses have been acquainted." "Mrs. Farrell, I'm sorry about your situation." "Don't be sorry. Be helpful. I understand you have documentation of their affair?" "I might." "I'm filing for divorce, and I want everything. Max's assets, his business interests, his precious car collection. Everything. I can provide you with what I have. There's something else. Max has been lying about his finances. He's been hiding money in offshore accounts, claiming his business is struggling when it's actually quite profitable." This was interesting. "How do you know?" "Because I'm not the helpless trophy wife he thinks I am. I have a master's degree in forensic accounting." I laughed. Max really doesn't know how to pick his battles, does he? Apparently not. Would you be interested in a mutually beneficial arrangement? What did you have in mind? I destroy Max financially and legally. You provide evidence and testimony. We both get what we want. Which is? Justice. I liked Pamela already. We met the next day at a law office downtown. Pamela was nothing like I'd expected. Instead of the blonde socialite I'd imagined, she was a sharp-eyed brunette in her 40s who radiated competence and barely controlled fury. Max thinks I'm stupid, she said without preamble. He's been moving money around for months, preparing for this divorce, but he made one crucial mistake. Which was, he underestimated me. She opened a laptop and showed me spreadsheets, bank records, and financial documents that painted a picture of systematic fraud. Max has been claiming his consulting business is barely breaking even, she explained, but he's actually been funneling profits through shell companies and offshore accounts. He owes hundreds of thousands in taxes. Have you contacted the IRS? Not yet. I wanted to give him a chance to be reasonable in the divorce proceedings. And if he's not reasonable? Her smile was sharp as a blade. Then I make a few phone calls. Meanwhile, my own divorce was proceeding smoothly. Erica had finally accepted reality and signed the papers. The custody arrangement gave me primary custody, with Erica getting the kids every other weekend and one evening per week. She'd also been forced to find a new job after Henderson and Associates decided not to renew her contract. Word of the affair had spread through the local business community, and her reputation was essentially destroyed. But I wasn't done yet. The piece de resistance came when Max's financial troubles reached a crisis point. Unable to pay his business loans and facing an expensive divorce, he was forced to liquidate his assets, including the 1967 Jaguar E-Type. I found out about the auction through Pete, who had a friend in the sheriff's department handling the asset seizure. They're auctioning off his car collection next Friday, Pete told me over beer at Murphy's Tavern. That green Jaguar he's so proud of? Starting bid is $20,000. Interesting. You're not thinking what I think you're thinking, are you? I'm thinking a lot of things, Pete. Daz, you've already won. Don't do anything stupid. Define stupid. Anything that involves that car and your obvious desire for poetic justice. I grinned. Would I do something like that? In a heartbeat. The auction was held in the parking lot of a repossession company on the outskirts of town. About 30 people showed up, mostly dealers and collectors looking for bargains. Max was there too, standing off to the side with Alan, watching his prized possessions get sold to pay his debts. He looked like he'd aged 5 years in the past month. When the Jaguar came up for bidding, I waited until the price reached $25,000 before raising my hand. $26,000, I called out. Max's head snapped around, his eyes widening when he saw me. The bidding continued, but I kept raising my hand. 30,000, 35, 40. Finally, the other bidders dropped out, and the auctioneer's gavel fell. Sold to bidder number 47 for $42,000. I walked over to complete the paperwork, passing right by Max and Alan. What are you doing? Max hissed. Buying a car, I replied cheerfully. You can't do this. Actually, I just did. Alan stepped forward. This is harassment. This is capitalism. Your friend defaulted on his loans, so his assets are being sold at public auction. I'm a member of the public with money to spend. Max looked like he was about to have a stroke. That car is worth $60,000. Then you should have paid your bills. I completed the purchase and arranged for the car to be delivered to my house. Max and Alan watched in stunned silence as I drove away in my truck. The next morning, I posted another Instagram photo. This time, it was the Jaguar sitting in my driveway with the caption, "New acquisition. Amazing what you can find at public auctions." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Everyone in town knew about the auction, and everyone understood exactly what had just happened. But I wasn't done with the car yet. That afternoon, I called a local equipment rental company and reserved an excavator for the weekend. Then I called the city and got a permit for debris removal on my property. Finally, I sent a message to the neighborhood WhatsApp group. Having a little celebration this Saturday at 2 p.m. Everyone's invited for burgers and a show. Saturday arrived with perfect weather. By 1:30, my front yard was packed with neighbors, friends, and family members. Someone had brought folding chairs. Mrs. Peterson had made potato salad. The kids were running around with excitement. At exactly 2 p.m., I climbed onto the excavator I'd rented and fired it up. The crowd cheered as I maneuvered the massive machine toward the Jaguar. "This is for 20 years of marriage," I announced through a borrowed megaphone. The excavator's claw came down on the hood with a satisfying crunch. "This is for 3 months of lies." Another blow, this time to the roof. "And this is for threatening my family." The final blow crushed the engine compartment completely. The crowd went wild. People were cheering, taking pictures, and recording videos. Someone started chanting, "Daz, Daz, Daz!" I climbed down from the excavator and surveyed the wreckage. The once beautiful Jaguar was now a twisted pile of metal and broken glass. "Well," I said into the megaphone, "I guess some things just have to go." The video of the car's destruction went viral within hours. Local news stations picked it up. It was shared thousands of times on social media. I even got calls from national media outlets wanting interviews. But the best response came from Max himself. He showed up at my house that evening, pushing through the crowd of neighbors who were still celebrating, his face purple with rage. "You destroyed my car," he screamed. "I destroyed my car," I corrected. "I bought it legally at a public auction." "That car was worth $60,000, was being the operative phrase. Now it's worth about $200 in scrap metal." "You're insane!" "I'm thorough." Max looked around at the crowd of neighbors, all of them staring at him, with expressions ranging from amusement to contempt. "This isn't over," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Actually, it is. Your business is ruined. Your wife is taking everything you have left. Your car is scrap metal, and your girlfriend is my ex-wife, which means she's about to discover what happens when the excitement wears off." I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only he could hear. "You picked the wrong family to mess with, Max. I tried to handle this quietly, but you kept pushing, so I pushed back harder. I'll sue you for everything." "With what money?" "Your wife's forensic accountant found all your hidden assets. The IRS is very interested in your offshore accounts, and your creditors are circling like sharks." His face went white. "How do you know about Pamela? She's a lovely woman, very smart, much smarter than you gave her credit for." Max staggered backward like I'd hit him. "Enjoy your new life," I said. "I hear bankruptcy court is lovely this time of year." He stumbled away, leaving me standing in my driveway surrounded by the wreckage of his prized possession and the cheers of my neighbors. That night, after everyone had gone home and the kids were in bed, I sat on my porch with a beer and called Pete. "You magnificent, vindictive bastard," he said when he answered. "That was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I told you some things just have to go. The whole town's talking about it. You're a folk hero. I'm just a guy who got tired of being pushed around." "Well, you definitely sent a message." I looked at the pile of twisted metal in my driveway and smiled. Message received and understood. But even as I celebrated my victory, I knew this wasn't quite over yet. Max was the type who couldn't let things go, and desperate men do desperate things. I was right to be cautious. The storm hit on a Tuesday night in late October, 3 weeks after the car-crushing incident. I was at my lakeside cabin, a small property I'd inherited from my father and used as a weekend retreat, when the weather turned violent. The cabin was 40 minutes outside town, nestled among pine trees on the shore of Miller Lake. It was my sanctuary, the place where I came to think and plan and remember who I was before everything went sideways. I'd brought the kids for a long weekend, but they'd gone back to town with Pete on Monday for school. I'd stayed behind to finish some repairs and enjoy the solitude. The first sign of trouble wasn't the weather. It was my security system alerting me to movement on the access road. I checked the cameras from my phone. A single vehicle was approaching through the rain, headlights cutting through the darkness. As it got closer, I could make out the shape of a pickup truck I didn't recognize. The truck stopped about 100 yards from the cabin, just outside the range of my exterior lights. The driver sat there for several minutes, engine running, as if gathering courage. My phone rang. "Erica." "Daryl. You need to get out of there," she said without preamble. Her voice was tight with fear. "What are you talking about?" "Max is coming for you. He's been drinking and he's got a gun. He's completely lost it." "Where are you?" "At his apartment. He was ranting about you, about how you destroyed his life. He said he was going to end this tonight." Through the window, I could see the truck door opening. A figure emerged, moving unsteadily through the rain. "Call the police," I told Erica. "I already did, but they're dealing with storm damage all over the county. It could be an hour before anyone gets out there." The figure was walking toward the cabin now, and I could see it was indeed Max. He was carrying something in his right hand, probably the gun Erica had mentioned. "I have to go," I told her. "Daryl, be careful. He's not rational anymore." I hung up and quickly ran through my options. The cabin had good security, but it wasn't designed to withstand a determined assault. I could try to leave, but Max would see me coming and might start shooting. Better to control the situation from inside. I activated the cabin's security system, similar to the one at my house but adapted for the remote location. Floodlights, cameras, and a few surprises I'd installed over the years. Max was 50 feet from the front door when I turned on the exterior speakers. "That's far enough, Max." He stopped, swaying slightly, and looked around for the source of my voice. "Come out here and face me like a man," he shouted. "Put down the gun and we can talk." "Talk?" He laughed bitterly. "You destroyed everything I had. My business, my marriage, my reputation. You destroyed those things yourself when you decided to sleep with my wife. She came to me. She was unhappy. And you were happy to take advantage of that." Max raised the gun. It looked like a pistol, though I couldn't tell the caliber from this distance. "You turned everyone against me, made me look like a fool." "I didn't have to make you look like anything, Max. I just showed people who you really were." He fired a shot into the air, the sound echoing across the lake. "I'm done talking. Come out here." Instead, I activated the next phase of my security system. The floodlights began strobing, creating a disorienting effect. At the same time, speakers hidden around the property began playing different sounds: footsteps, voices, doors slamming. Max spun around wildly, trying to track the sounds, the gun waving dangerously. "What the hell?" "Psychological warfare, Max. Something I learned from Pete's military buddies." The strobing lights and conflicting sounds were designed to disorient and confuse. Max was already drunk and emotionally unstable. The sensory overload would make it even harder for him to think clearly. "Stop it!" he screamed. "Drop the gun and I'll stop everything." Instead, he fired another shot, this one toward the cabin. The bullet struck the front door, splintering the wood. That changed things. Now he was shooting at my property, which gave me legal justification for more aggressive defensive measures. I activated the sprinkler system. High-pressure water erupted from hidden nozzles around the property, soaking Max instantly. He slipped on the wet ground, falling hard and dropping the gun. I was out the back door and moving through the trees before he could recover. The storm provided cover, and I knew this property better than anyone. Max struggled to his feet, looking for the gun in the muddy grass. The strobing lights and sprinklers were still running, making it nearly impossible for him to see clearly. I circled around behind him, using the trees for cover. "Looking for this?" I called out. He spun around to see me standing 20 feet away, holding his pistol. "Give that back." I don't think so. Max looked around wildly, realizing he was trapped. The sprinklers had turned the ground into a mud pit. The strobing lights were still flashing, and he was soaked to the skin. You can't do this to me, he said, his voice breaking. I'm not doing anything to you, Max. You came here with a gun. You shot at my property. I'm just defending myself. I've lost everything because of you. You lost everything because you made bad choices. Sleeping with my wife was a bad choice. Trying to intimidate me was a bad choice. And coming here tonight with a gun was the worst choice of all. Headlights appeared on the access road, multiple vehicles approaching fast. Looks like the cavalry's arriving, I said. The first vehicle was a sheriff's deputy, followed by Pete in his truck. They pulled up with lights flashing, and 2 deputies emerged with weapons drawn. "Drop your weapon!" one of them shouted. I immediately placed the pistol on the ground and raised my hands. "I'm the homeowner," I called out. "The gun belongs to him." I pointed at Max, who was standing in the middle of my yard looking like a drowned rat. The deputies quickly secured the scene, handcuffing Max and retrieving the weapon. Pete came over to check on me. "You okay, brother?" "I'm fine. How did you get here so fast?" "Erica called me after she called 911. Figured you might need backup." One of the deputies, a young woman named Officer Martinez, took my statement while her partner dealt with Max. "He fired 2 shots, I told her. One in the air, one at my front door. You can see the bullet hole." "We'll need to examine the weapon and test for gunshot residue," she said. "But from what I can see, this looks like a clear case of trespassing and assault with a deadly weapon." Max was loaded into the back of the patrol car, still ranting about how I'd ruined his life. As they drove away, another vehicle arrived, Erica's BMW. She ran through the rain to where Pete and I were standing. "Are you hurt?" she asked, her face pale with worry. "I'm fine." "I'm so sorry, Daryl. I never thought he'd do something like this." "It's not your fault." She looked around at the aftermath, the mud, the bullet hole in my door, the scattered equipment from my security system. "Yes, it is," she said quietly. If we hadn't, you made your choices, and he made his. You're not responsible for what he did tonight. But I'm responsible for starting all of this." I studied her face in the flashing lights of the emergency vehicles. For the first time since this whole mess began, she looked genuinely remorseful. "Yeah," I said finally, "you are." We stood in silence for a moment, the rain continuing to fall around us. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we both move on with our lives. You figure out who you want to be, and I keep being who I've always been. The kids will be fine. They're stronger than both of us." More vehicles were arriving, a detective, a crime scene photographer, and eventually a tow truck to remove Max's pickup. As the night wore on and the officials finished their work, Pete and I sat on the cabin's porch, drinking coffee and watching the storm begin to clear. "Hell of a thing," Pete said. "Hell of a year." "You think this is really over now?" I considered the question. Max would be facing serious charges: trespassing, assault with a deadly weapon, possibly attempted murder. His life was effectively over. Erica was starting fresh, hopefully having learned something from this disaster. And I had my kids, my business, and my peace of mind. "Yeah," I said. "I think it's over." The next morning, the story was all over the local news. Local man defends property from armed intruder. The video from my security cameras, edited to remove anything that might compromise the legal case, showed Max's arrival, his threatening behavior, and his eventual capture. Public opinion, which had already been firmly in my corner, solidified completely. I was no longer just the wronged husband. I was the man who'd stood up to a bully and won. Max pled guilty to multiple charges and was sentenced to 3 years in prison. His business collapsed entirely, and Pamela's divorce settlement left him with nothing. Erica found a new job in a city 2 hours away. She moved there for a fresh start, visiting the kids every other weekend as agreed. The distance seemed to help everyone heal. 6 months later, I was back at the cabin with Taylor and Owen, enjoying a peaceful weekend. We were grilling burgers and watching the sunset over the lake when Taylor asked the question I'd been expecting. "Dad, do you think you went too far?" I considered my answer carefully. "I think I did exactly what I needed to do to protect our family," I said finally. "Your mom made choices that hurt all of us. Max made choices that threatened all of us. I made choices that ended the threat. But you destroyed his life. He destroyed his own life. I just made sure everyone could see it." Owen, now 14 and wiser than his years, spoke up. "Mom says you're not the same person you used to be. She's right, I'm not. Are you better or worse?" I looked at my kids, strong, smart, resilient despite everything they'd been through. I'm exactly who I need to be. That evening, as we sat around the fire pit, I thought about the past year and everything that had happened. The betrayal, the humiliation, the anger, and finally, the justice. Some people might say I went too far, that I should have been the bigger man, turned the other cheek, forgiven and forgotten. But those people had never watched their family fall apart because of someone else's selfishness. They'd never been threatened in their own home by a man with a gun. I'd protected what mattered most, and I'd done it without compromising my principles or breaking the law. Every action I'd taken had been calculated, legal, and proportionate. Max Farrell had learned a valuable lesson about consequences. Erica had learned that actions have prices, and I had learned that sometimes the only way to stop a bully is to become something they fear more than their own conscience. As the fire died down and the kids went inside to bed, I sat alone on the dock, looking out over the calm water of Miller Lake. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new chances to be the man my children needed me to be. But tonight, for the first time in over a year, I was completely at peace. The war was over, and I had won. I stood up, stretched, and headed inside to lock up the cabin. As I reached for the light switch, I turned back for one last look at the lake. "Next time you want excitement," I said to the darkness, thinking of Erica and Max and all the chaos they'd brought into our lives, "try a bungee jump. It's safer than screwing with me."